Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really pulling back the curtain on what it takes to be a chief growth officer. You know, that CGO role many of you in business development might well be aiming for.
Exactly. And we're doing it using some, well, pretty fascinating data. There's this analysis from the Global Business Development Association, the GBDA. They dug into, what was it, 67 CGO LinkedIn profiles?
Meticulous.
57 real world examples. That's our source material here. And our mission really is to pull out the key stats, maybe uncover some surprising career paths.
Oh, definitely surprise it.
And pinpoint those critical skills, all straight from this GBDA analysis. And I have to say, just glancing at it, where these CGOs actually started their careers, it's not what I expected.
Not at all. It really makes you rethink the standard path to leading growth, doesn't it?
Totally. Okay, so let's unpack this. What does the GBDA study actually tell us about the typical CGO profile in this group of 67? Well, okay, so there are some clear characteristics, like about a third are female, 32% specifically, which challenges some older ideas maybe.
Right.
And location-wise, it's heavily U.S.-based. About 82% are here in the States.
Interesting. Okay. And what about the companies they work for? Are these all massive Fortune 500s?
Not necessarily, no. The median company size, around 675 employees.
Ah, okay.
So definitely established companies well past the startup phase, but not always those huge global giants. It suggests the CGO role is pretty vital in significant mid-market companies too.
Okay, now here's where it gets really, really interesting, especially for, those of us who came up through sales or marketing. You'd think the path to chief growth officer would be pretty direct, right? Like BD, sales, maybe marketing.
That's the logical assumption.
Yeah.
But this GBDA analysis, it throws a curveball.
How so?
When they looked at the very first job listed on these CGO profiles, get this, 52%, over half, actually started out in operations.
Operations, wow.
Yeah. And sticking with that theme, the main career path leading to the CGO job overall, also operations, coming in at 43%.
That's compared to what for other backgrounds?
Well, put it this way. Only 19% had actually held a CGO title somewhere else before. So operations is really dominant as a pathway.
Operations, that is genuinely surprising. It kind of suggests that maybe those foundational operational skills built outside traditional BD are, well, really key.
It certainly seems that way.
So, okay, beyond where they started, what else do we know? Like their overall experience, education.
Right. Well, these are definitely seasoned leaders. We're talking a median of 26 years in business by the time they land the CGO role.
26 years. Okay.
And education is clearly important. A huge 96% have an undergraduate degree, usually a BA. And on top of that, 40% have gone on to do postgraduate studies.
Any particular type.
The MBA was the most common advanced degree mentioned.
Okay, so the picture is getting clearer. Highly experienced, well-educated, often in decent-sized companies, and surprisingly often with a strong operations background. But what about the skills they need in the CGO role? What did the GBDA study highlight there?
Yeah, they did point to several key skills, and it's more than just high-level strategy. Obviously, being a strategic leader is core.
Of course.
But they also really emphasize strong communication, like being concise, compelling, convincing people across the whole organization.
Makes sense. And I saw some maybe softer skills mentioned too, things that are clearly vital for growth today.
Absolutely. Empathy was high on the list,
Yeah.
but framed specifically as like deeply understanding market needs to build things people actually value.
Right. Understanding the why behind the customer.
Exactly. And networking came up, but not just collecting contacts. It was more about empathetically connecting people where there's mutual value, and social selling too, building a useful, valuable online presence.
Empathy and networking focused on mutual value. That really hits home that growth today isn't just transactional, is it? It's about relationships, understanding.
Precisely. And there were other capabilities too, like a strong focus on the operational side of actually integrating business development.
So the execution piece, not just the plan.
Right. Can you efficiently and effectively implement the growth strategy? Plus, research skills, finding viable markets, creativity, solving problems, and persistence, seeing things through.
And I bet data analytics was in there somewhere.
Oh, absolutely critical. The study mentioned an insatiable curiosity, wanting to understand the why behind customer problems and company performance, using data for real insight, not just looking at dashboards.
This whole skill mix is fascinating, isn't it? It's like strategic leadership is table stakes, but then you need this blend of deep market understanding, operational know-how, these very human skills like empathy and networking, and then this underpinning of data-driven curiosity.
Yeah, it suggests that maybe skills like data analytics and empathy are becoming just as vital, just as non-negotiable as, say, strategic thinking or traditional sales skills.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener, thinking about your own career in business development. What's the main takeaway from this deep dive into the CGO profile?
Well, I think the GBDA study gives us a pretty solid data-backed view. The path often involves, significant experience, good education, and surprisingly often this grounding in operations.
Right.
And the required skill set, it's a blend. It's that strategic leadership, yes, but combined with deep market empathy, operational execution, those crucial people skills like networking, and that analytical curiosity.
So it tells us the path isn't always straight, and the skills needed are, well, maybe broader and more nuanced than we might first think. It's definitely not just about closing the biggest deals anymore.
Not at all. Looking at this whole mix, especially how much weight seems to be put on things like empathy and data analytics alongside the strategy and execution.
Yeah, it really does leave you with something to think about, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Given this data where CGOs often come from, the skills they demonstrably need, maybe ask yourself, what one skill from that list, perhaps one you hadn't prioritized before, might be the most critical for leading growth long term in today's world?
And maybe more importantly, how can you start actively cultivating that skill in your own journey starting now?
Definitely some food for thought there.
Hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the making of a chief growth officer. We really hope these insights give you some valuable perspective for your own path forward.